The Mangaung Correctional Center is the toughest maximum security prison in South Africa. So imagine the surprise of the authorities when a suspicious fire broke out in cell 35. The cell was meant for the most extreme prisoners and was usually left unoccupied. But on the 3rd of May 2022, the cell was occupied by one of the notorious prisoners, Thabo Bester, who was a con artist, rapist, and murderer. Known as the Facebook rapist, Bester was serving a life sentence, and when the authorities finally got to the cell, his body was burned beyond recognition. The death was ruled a suicide, which was taken well by many who believed he had finally paid his debt to society. But what happens when a user on social media finds a picture of Bester with an influencer? If Tabo Bester didn't die in that cell, whose body was that? Welcome back to Crime Mystic, where we cover solved, unsolved, and mysterious cases from around the world. Today, we are looking at the bizarre case of Thabo Bester, a robber, con artist, and rapist who eventually became a murderer. He escaped prison and left a confusing trail for authorities, making us wonder how he could pull it off. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, click subscribe and like our video. With that said, let's take a closer look at this South African criminal. Background. Who is Thabo Bester? Thabo Bester was born on the 13th of June 1986 in Johannesburg, South Africa. From the moment he was born, he was surrounded by crime. His mother was raped when she was 16, causing him to be raised by his grandparents. When Bester was only 4 years old, his grandfather found him with a wad of cash, and he lied that their neighbor gave it to him. Upon visiting the neighbor, his grandfather realized that the neighbor didn't even know it was gone. Once he was 5, he was also caught stealing coins from a local storekeeper. By the time Bester was 17, he had completed a stint in prison for house burglary, as he stole from someone in the community. By 2004, Bester was under the custody of his mother, but this didn't stop him from committing crimes. Bester found a better medium for his crimes in 2005, when social media became more popular. Using Facebook and other social media platforms, he launched a career as a con artist and posed as an international scout. He approached aspiring models online and promised them a debut in exchange for a fee to join his agency. Those that met him in person were also robbed of their belongings. By 2009, the police uncovered this horrid scheme, and he was charged with fraud, costing him 3 years in prison. Unfortunately, he was released 1 year earlier and didn't waste any time to wreak havoc. He resumed his stunt of posting as an international scout, but even forged paperwork to secure luxurious hotel rooms and chartered planes to make his scams look more believable. He also got expensive camera equipment with fake payment receipts. Then, he would fly down aspiring models to where he was in South Africa, rob them of their belongings, and sell the equipment. At the end of 2011, he was charged with raping 2 of those women and released on bond while the investigation continued. From con artist to murderer. In 2011, Bester made Namfundo Tiolu a car saleswoman who wanted to be a model, and she sold him a BMW. He pretended to be an international talent scout and charmed his way into her life. They started dating for a while, and then he stabbed her to death at a bed and breakfast in Cape Town. By 2012, he was finally arrested and charged with the murder of Tiolu and the rape and robbery of the 2 women in 2011. He was then sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Everyone believed justice had finally been served to the notorious Bester. But what happens next would really blow your mind. Running a company from prison, Bester was sent to Mangaung Correctional Center, a private maximum security prison in South Africa, run by G4S, the multinational security company. Despite being in a prison that only housed hardened criminals, Bester ran a fake sham media and events company, advertised as a subsidiary of 21st Century Fox, called 21st Century Media. Even if Bester was in prison, employees stated that he always responded to texts immediately and even sent them money when needed. Fumudzu Tenga was the director of the company and believed that Bester, who changed his name to Tom Motsap, was actually in New York. Bester's sham company looked so real that he organized an event at the Hilton Hotel in 2018 on his birthday. He invited different celebrities and members of the high society in Johannesburg, and even attended the meeting through video call, wearing a suit, as the audience sang the happy birthday song to Tom. They had no idea that they were face to face with a criminal convicted of rape and murder and was currently in prison serving a life sentence. How in the world was a prison inmate able to do all of this from a cell? Who helped Bester make a fake company that attracted the most popular people in Johannesburg? These questions arose once he mysteriously escaped from prison. Mysterious prison escape. On the 3rd of May 2022, Bester escaped from Mangowan Correctional Center with the help of some G4S employees. But how could he do this? Prison inmates had described Bester as being solemn and keeping to himself. But in the days leading to the mysterious fire in his prison cell, he was lively and told everyone that he would soon leave the prison. But everyone ignored him, because how could that even happen? Suddenly, he was moved to the solitary cell that was bare because it had a blind spot in the security cameras. He was kicking and screaming, but still forced to the cell for no apparent reason. The next night, a fire broke out in Bester's cell, and the police were called an hour and a half later. When medical services arrived, they declared Bester dead, and the police's initial investigation stated that he committed suicide by using a lighter to set his cell on fire. Once the body was sent to the pathologist, what seemed like the truth started to blur with fiction. The pathologist stated that the cause of death for the body in prison was blunt force trauma to the head, with no signs of smoke inhalation. Also, the burn wounds and charring of the body were revealed to be post-mortem. But South Africa had a backlog of DNA tests, and so getting confirmation of whether it was Bester or not was difficult. Another strange thing that happened was the CCTV cameras were tampered with and pointed in the wrong direction. But in the corner of the CCTV footage, 2 people wearing warden uniforms were rushed out of the prison, but it was unclear who they were. With all these suspicions, the authorities were sure of foul play and focused on uncovering what had happened. 3 days after the fire broke out, Nandipa Magudumana, an influencer and celebrity doctor, came to the state mortuary and asked for the body of Bester. She claimed that they were married and she wanted to cremate him. After a back and forth with the court, she was granted permission to cremate the body. But before she could do this, Bester's mother also arrived and asked to bury her son. She stated that she had no idea of Bester being married, and so the body was sent back to the morgue while the case was being resolved. The case slowly reached a dead end, and authorities had no clues. But it all blew up when a picture of a man resembling Bester started circulating social media. Is a dead man suddenly coming to life? The case suddenly became even more mysterious, like something out of the movies. Social media sheds a spotlight on the case. While the whole world believed Bester was dead, he seemed to become even more comfortable. 10 months after the prison fire, a user on social media uncovered something that would shock South Africa to its core. The social media user found a seemingly ordinary photo of Nandipa, the celebrity doctor, which was taken by a fan. The excited fan took a picture of her while she was out shopping, but she was with a man. Zooming in, the man looked like Bester, although the hairstyle was different and he wore sunglasses. The photo started circulating on social media, and even one of his childhood friends pointed out that he was totally convinced that the man in the photo was Bester. The photo led to debates and opinions on social media, and some even realized that he was also Tom Motsepe, the CEO of the sham media company. Did Thabo Bester die in the prison fire, or was he actually going shopping with a celebrity doctor despite being on the run? These questions went through social media. The officials were forced to respond and finally announced that Bester had escaped from prison and the body found in the prison cell was not his. So, whose body did Bester use to fake his death? Whose body was found in Bester's cell? The body found inside Bester's cell was finally identified as belonging to Katlego Bedeng Mfolo. Mfolo's father decided to sue the South African government, especially since the police stated that his son had collapsed and died in the hospital. But the body found in the cell was Mfolo and died of blunt force trauma, raising even more questions rather than answers. How did Bester get a hold of his body, which was in a mortuary? And how did Mfolo really die? The authorities are yet to answer these questions. Rearrest in Tanzania and brought to justice. Finally, Bester and Magurumana were arrested in Tanzania. Tanzanian authorities in Arusha arrested them and deported them to South Africa a few days later. Aside from these two, 8 people have been charged in connection with Bester's escape, including G4S security supervisor Sinohe Matsuara and Integriton's CCTV technician Tebogo James Lipolo. Magurumana's father was also arrested for helping Bester escape. Even on the 8th of August 2023, Bester and Magurumana saw each other in court for the first time since their arrest in March. This led to a social media storm, especially with how well she interacted with her murderous boyfriend. While Thabo Bester has been arrested, there is no doubt that today's story has left us with more questions. What kind of crimes have been happening in the Mangoan Correctional Center? How did Bester get a hold of a dead body and successfully fake his death? Did anyone else help Bester escape from prison? Is Mpolo's death connected to Bester? Or was it simply a coincidence? And will Bester attempt an escape again? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.